And get started with a demonstration of the virtual assistant, our virtual desktop. My name is Nilles, and I am the content manager for a number of the modules, including the I'm a job seeker, I'm a veteran, explore my skills, and I'm an employer. And what that means, basically, is that I look at the content that's in each one of these modules and make sure that it's current, the links all work, that it's effective. I get a lot of input from our current access points about things they want to see. And so I'll check those sites out to see if they're viable to include. This is a very dynamic desktop. And what I mean by that is what you're seeing now, granted what you're seeing now isn't out in production, but what you're seeing now is very different than what we had November 1st. November 1st, this was a series of 4 icons. Since then, we've added in the I am a student and the explore my skills modules. And those were added as a direct result of input that we've had from access points and users and people in the access points helping users. Okay. I also get a lot of input when I do these demonstrations to our customers or anybody who's hosting an access point. They can sign up for a demonstration. And they'll give me a lot of input and feedback too. And we take that into consideration. Okay? As you can see, we do have the 6 main modules. The I'm a job seeker, I'm unemployed, I'm a veteran, I'm a student, explore my skills, which is brand new and we'll be launching that. And then the I am an employer. Those typically are what people see first, but what I want to direct your attention to initially is the directions for how to use the virtual assistant. I'm going to go ahead and just one click on that. Everything within the desktop itself is point and click. Now once you get into some of the websites, it's not that easy, but the desktop itself is all point and click. So I'm in the directions for how to use the module. The first thing that I see is I don't know how to use a computer. If I don't know how to use a computer very well, I can click on that link, and it brings up some instructions. We have some self-help training tools and resources built into the desktop that people can access. And then we also have information that a person can contact the nearest Iowa Work Center for assistance and to inquire about the availability of computer training near you. And we have the contact your nearest Iowa Workforce Development Center link there so that you could go out and find the nearest center, okay, along with the address and telephone number. I'm going to go ahead and close this window with the X in the upper right-hand corner. Takes me right back here. Let's check out these self-help training tools and resources. I'm just going to click on that link. It's going to take me to my virtual assistant computer training tools. We have a number of self-help training programs on the computer, including a typing tutor. And then we have some multilingual training, including a multilingual mouse trainer. And when I click on that, it enters, or it brings up the mouse trainer, and I can pick what language I want the mouse trainer to show up in. And there's a good number to pick from. It's not going to cover everyone, but there are languages in here to pick from. I'm going to go ahead and exit that. The same holds true with the multilingual keyboard explorer. I can come in, pick the language, and then access the keyboard explorer if I don't know how to type. Go ahead and exit that. We also have some online self-help resources and trainings. We found this really cool site called Malicious Exercises from seniornet.org. I'm going to go ahead and open that. And this has just some simple exercises that people can do to learn how to use the mouse. So the drag and drop, clicking, placing the mouse, all of those things are covered in that tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and close that with the X in the upper right-hand corner. We also have links to the digitalliteracy.gov site where people can go in and get some basic digital literacy information. Allison is the Advanced Learning Interactive Systems. And if you haven't familiarized yourself with Allison at all, I would really recommend you go in and look at it. What I liken it to, it's kind of like the Google of training. So I can come in here and I can look for online training opportunities at low or no cost for a variety of topics, anywhere from healthcare to IT to GED, literacy, all kinds of things I can use Allison for. I can set up an account, and I can even have it email me when it finds a training opportunity that fits my needs. Okay? And that's allison.com. So there's only one L in the Allison. We'll go ahead and close that. We also link to Microsoft technology training resources and tools, and then the free online learning at gcflearnfree.org. That site's sponsored by Goodwill International and has a lot of good training. Most of it's internet-based training, so Excel, Word, computer kind of stuff. But it also, the last time I was out there, it has a little tutorial for how to use Google Docs. So they've been keeping themselves fresh, which is good. I'm going to go ahead and use my Go Back button. There's several ways I can navigate. I can use Go Back, and it'll take me back to my previous screen. I can also use the Home button up here in my button bar. That'll take me back to my home page. In the I Am a Job Seeker module, and I can click either on the icon or on the link, and you see as I hover over, I get a little hover text that tells me a little bit more about what this is. We have some job seeker resources. So if I need a job, I can click on the I Need a Job resource. We tried to keep it very simple as far as the language that we're using. Okay? I need a resume, Jobseeker Tools, take an assessment or practice test, information and resources, students in education, frequently asked questions, and then again, that I don't know how to use a computer link. Now, some of these pages that we're going to touch on as we go through here, you're going to see as part of other modules. And the reason that we've done that, for example, students in education, you're going to see that when we go into I Am a Student. Sometimes a person coming into an access point sees themselves as a job seeker, even though they know they got to take a class. They're a job seeker in their mind. You have other people that see themselves as a student. They're in college, they're at a community college or a four-year college. They're a student, but they need a part-time job. So what we've tried to do is make this come together in ways that no matter which path you take to get into it, you can still get the information you need. So some of these pages are going to repeat, and it's by design. Under I Need a Job, we have several links. We have a Veterans Job Bank link, Iowa Jobs, Job Central, our Registered Apprenticeships link. I see you over there going, all right, girl. Iowa's New Energy Economy, My Skills, My Future, and My Next Move. Those are links from the Department of Labor, State of Iowa Jobs, and federal jobs. Okay? And if I click on any one of these links, it's going to take me to that website, and then I can further explore from there. I'm going to go ahead and close that with the X in the upper right-hand corner. It's going to take me right back to my desktop, and I'm going to go back. That's the I Need a Job. Now, I Need a Resume. We recently changed this page. We have the Merchandising Your Job Talents. That's actually a publication, a link to the electronic version of a publication that Workforce Development puts out. And then we have the link for Iowa Jobs Resume Builder. We recently added a resume builder into our Iowa Jobs Job Bank, so that as people go through the registration process, they also build a resume. And so we've added that into our resume resources. Now this is one of those spots where we did get a lot of input. We had about 3 other resume building kinds of tools in here that I just recently removed. And the reason that I removed them was the tool that we have in our Iowa Jobs Resume Builder is a good one, number one. But number two, it wasn't until you got about 95% of the way through those sites that you found out, oh, there's a charge if I want to print this. And so we got some feedback from one of our librarians that hosts an access site, and I pulled them. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and go back. Jobseeker Tools. We have several tools included in here for job seekers to learn looks familiar. We've gone over it, the typing tutor, the multilingual mouse trainer. So I'm going to go ahead and go back.
On the resume one, is the person able to save the resume in the cloud then? So
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you email it to your house?
Yes. And you can email it directly to an employer out of the system too. Yes.
Okay, I go in and I see this desktop. At what point does Iowa Workforce make them a client, if at all? Like if I were to walk in?
Anybody who walks in is a customer. They're our customer.
Right.
Okay.
But how do you know? I mean, okay, I'm going to send my son in to do a resume. How is he now a customer of Workforce Development by using that link?
Okay. When he goes in and does the resume in our Iowa Jobs site, one of the things that he's doing that we've kind of made not so obvious was registering for work with us. He's a customer at that point.
Okay, so once I click into any of those links,
Just by clicking onto any of those links doesn't mean that you're registered for work with Iowa Workforce Development or Iowa Works. But that doesn't mean you're not our customer.
No, but her question is, so then how does he get feedback from us with job openings and things like that, that we can send information out to him after he's done a resume? How does that register him in our system to get feedback on jobs that are available?
Once the resume is created and you're in that part of the system, you have the option to create job alerts.
okay.
And those job alerts then work from the email address you provide and then email you about potential opportunities. And then you can also use the resume that you build, and the system will go in and look at your resume and intuitively find jobs that you might be interested in and notify you about them.
Yeah, and on the other side of that coin, very quickly, I know this is interesting. How does that count toward customers served for workforce development? I mean, at what point do you count them as a customer so that you could say, yes, this is how many customers we serve?
Okay. Anytime someone is logged into Iowa Jobs and hits the How to Apply button,
Oh, okay.
that's a countable service.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just kind of on that point, let's say I need a job,
Okay.
and I don't know what happens next because I haven't done this before. So just get on somewhere to keep going. Where does it, okay, now if I wanted to search for a job, let's say I wanted to work at the, just about anything.
Okay.
That's where you got to sign in before you see a job.
Correct.
You
Okay,
can
so
search though
You can
without.
search.
You can search.
But
Well,
it
I'm
won't-
just thinking about performance measures and how, how we get credit for our performance. If somebody's in there and they can search for a job and they know where to go and they go get a job,
Yep.
and we don't know that because they went to Iowa Workforce Development, virtual access, how do you get credit for that if you don't put your name and password in there or require them to at least?
I can understand where your thought process is taking you, but that's not the way it actually works.
Okay, how does it work?
If I go into advanced search or search by region, and I find a position that I'm interested in, I'm just going to search.
It doesn't list where they're at.
Right. It gives me an idea of the position. So I can look at this tutor position, okay? And if I click on how to apply, it's going to take me back here and say, all right, the employer for this job has requested only qualified applicants, receive referrals. You must log in to see the details about the job. So you can search using the advanced search and the search by region options, but that doesn't mean that you're going to get the how to apply information. You have to log in to get that. And that's where we're getting our countable services and meeting our performance goals. Yes?
Back to Greer's question. So every time I click on, is counted as a customer serve?
Click on what?
This site, or is that just my account?
Okay.
So
The access point, what the access point is counting is that if I come into here,
Right.
coming into here is a service at the access point.
Okay.
Okay? Then there's another level to that. After I log in and I find a job that I'm interested in, when I click how to apply, that also is a countable service.
So
Because
that-
I've gotten information about how to apply for the job.
So I
Yes.
got the same person that's being counted maybe 4, 5, 6 times on the same click? Or,
No, they wouldn't, it's not the same click though.
It's also no different than if you go into the resource room in the office. So
Correct.
it counts it that way as well, when service is delivered.
So we count services delivered. So one service delivered is to look at all of the jobs. Another service delivered is to look at or apply for a job.
that,
Yep, thank you.
And we count that, we've counted services delivered that way in our offices as well. So it is the same counting mechanism. We're not counting any differently than the way we did before in a resource room.
So you're measuring services delivered and people served.
They're two different counts.
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
different counts. Now I got, because I was thinking we have an account, but
Mhm.
we have the same person being counted 6 or 7 or 8 times, which is actually one person, but we delivered 6 different services to
Correct.
it. So we counted one person as a customer,
Correct.
after that terminology, and
6 services.
6 services.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Any other questions on the Iowa Jobs part? Now, obviously, because of the back end things that we have in place, we can count those referrals to jobs that we get from Iowa Jobs. But if people use Job Central or the federal jobs or state of Iowa Jobs, we don't have that same back end interface. And so the service that is counted from there is that they went into that particular site. Okay. I'm going to go ahead.
Now, once I get into an account, I can narrow it. That's it.
Your searches, yes.
I can say like Polk County,
Correct.
manufacturing.
Yes.
So I can really fine tune it to.
Mhm. The next section is the take an assessment or practice test section. And we'll see this again when we go into the I am a student section. But in this section, we have a link for some career assessments. Those include our ONET Interest Profiler, America's Career Infonet, ONET Online, Career Management Tools, Career Path, the Kiersey Temperament and Character website, Internet Career Connection, and then the Job Dig Career Test. So we found some different career kinds of assessments and included them in the site. Let me go ahead and go back.
Are there fees associated with taking any of those?
No. No.
I wondered the same thing, because I see the .com so that's private,
No.
No, it's commercial.
it's commercial, all right. There's no fee associated with it?
Not with any of those, no.
Some of them are licenses that we hold as an agency to be able to use, but we don't charge the job seeker any costs associated with it.
We also have a GED practice test. American Council on Education that has some sample questions. Go ahead and close that. The same for ACT. We've been trying to work with SAT to get them to let us post some SAT sample or some practice questions. We haven't been able to convince them yet.
If you
So-
click on the ACT practice test, and I look at that thing, and do we know if I actually took it?
No, these are practice questions.
Yeah, but I mean, when you click on that, is that a service delivered?
Yes.
So, but we don't know whether they took it or not. That's a practice test, I know that, but, so actually, just sitting here, I seen you hit probably 7 or 8, 10, 12 buttons. So those were service delivered 12 times, right?
Correct.
Because every time they click that.
Yes.
So you got somebody in there just hopping around trying to see what's going on with this thing. You just sent this thing through the roof. but did they ever deliver a service that had any meaning to it? See, that's, the other thing is, I think you ought to make somebody sign in at the start, because we get paid for performance measures, and you know, why wouldn't you want to know who's logging in at the very beginning? I'm kind of confused about that.
Actually, Senator, that has been quite a discussion. We've discussed that quite a bit, and there's a number of us happen to agree with you. We just, we didn't want to scare other people off, and we're treading a little lightly there, but I like your idea.
Without signing back, without signing in, how's your security measure?
So yes, you don't give up
Gary,
any
stand up.
security.
They need to hear that.
Oh, I'm sorry. You don't give up any security by not signing in. It's still a secure sign. You just don't have the ability to track an individual at that point. And we were talking about, as far as the board is concerned, making decisions. One of the things that we've kicked around is, what do you think about being able to serve people without the intimidation factor of having to sign in? Any thoughts on that?
I just know from, on the economic development side, early on when information was started being pushed out by communities, regions, states, one of the key things was to require sign-ins on the front end. And communities we've gone away from that, partly because of some people just won't sign in.
They're intimidated.
Yeah, I mean, because the idea at the front end was if an existing employer, a new business or site locator was going to look at the state valley and say, let's get them to sign in before they look at our community data and all that. And, you know, they just went away from that because they just found a trend of a lot of people didn't want to do that. They can get the data other ways, and so that's just from the web experience I've seen with communities and that.
Have you done any of that thinking in terms of it's free or it's not free? Because if you aren't used to using the net, you think every time you put your name in like that, you're going to get charged for something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be. Could be. It's something to consider. And also the privacy issue. A lot of people don't want to sign into something because they think they're going to send me coupons for Walmart or something. You know, it's those kinds of things. Those are all ideas we're kicking around, and I certainly welcome your input.
A disclaimer up front, if we have nothing that we charge for, that needs to be up.
And we keep your information private. We don't
Sell the list.
Sell it, give it away, do anything.
Personally, I like the way you can come in here without having to sign in, because as a parent, for
Yes.
example, I might be at the library in Ankeny and decide, well, I'm gonna look at that and go, hey, this is good for my son.
Right.
I'm not seeking a job, I'm not doing any of that stuff, so I'm not gonna bother to sign in, but I'm gonna learn information from that. However, I'm not quite sure, to make sure that our workforce gets the credit that it does deserve on how many customers or clients that it served, that is being counted. That was part of that one question that I was asking. So I like the idea that initially you get in there, but then when you want to do a resume, then you have to become a customer. If you wanted to take that practice test, you have to become a customer. It would be nice if we could count, you know, like you go on websites and it says, you know, this site has been viewed 5 million times. To know how many times the website has been viewed, and they can click all they want within it, and then how many customers are being served, and then that customer, how many services were provided to that particular customer. But they have to become a customer, whether they first initially become a customer in the resume part, or they become a customer in the GED part. Once they become a customer, then it's how many services that particular customer was provided. Is that possible?
Yes, technically yes. It's just a matter of where do you draw that line, because therein lies the rub. We have to make a decision about what we want to offer free of charge or without signing in, and then what do we want to count so we can have those statistics. That's what we've been struggling with internally ourselves, is how do we do that?
Hey, Gary,
Yeah.
you go, this brass certificate.
Yes.
You go partially with user ID that doesn't necessarily have to, gives you some anonymity, but you can still track, Harry James or whoever, a synonym or a pseudonym or a user ID. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, you could have a screen name, if you will, and we would certainly do those kinds of things if we require them to register. You wouldn't have to have anyone else see your name, but in the background, we would want to know it's a legitimate person. Otherwise, you could come in and sign in with something different every time you came in, and then we wouldn't know.
Right. Well, and you got some of that issue right now, right?
As far as counting services, yes, we don't know.
Yeah. You got the same issue now, and you don't have any way to track it. This would at least, it would be kind of a compromise position that you could at least do some of that tracking and know that you were serving the same customer. Would go in and take a look at the SAT test or go in and take a look at whatever, and you know that would be the same customer that was bouncing around. Otherwise, I could come on there and not put anything down, and if I jumped on there 3 times today and jumped through, let's say, 12 different screens that were tracked, I could end up with, say, 36 different services provided.
Sure.
But it really was me, and I'm the same person, just jumped all over the place.
But Francis, then, let me ask you a question. This is Teresa. A person can come into an integrated center and go to the computer, however many there are, to pick one, and go ahead and do that, all that same bouncing around, and it all is counting as services delivered without being...
Sure, I don't think you're ever going to get away from that, because you can't possibly require everybody to use a screen name or a pseudonym or whatever.
Yeah, my point is we're and it's a good suggestion. We'll take another look at it. We're trying to count consistently between integrated centers and access points so that the information on services is the same as it always has been, so it's counted the same way.
Sure, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But I don't think you're going to get a complete correlation there.
Yeah, I understand.
If I walk into a service center and I fill out the paperwork and everything, I become a customer right off the bat, right?
Right, but you can walk into a service center and not fill out the paperwork and utilize the machines, and we don't have any.
You'd have to walk out and nobody ever knows who the hell I am.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you can bounce around and have 10 or 12 hits on something and walk out, and you still have not necessarily been identified as a customer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Gary?
There's an awful lot of features and stuff that, if somebody goes in there and starts playing around with it and they're taking tests and all of this other stuff, I can imagine they could be there for a while. Do you have any problems with people waiting in line to use, if they're in the simple example of having only one station, that somebody's dominating something, so there's been no complaints about people waiting?
We actually, as I said, will be able to track from each access point what the numbers are of people going on a weekly, daily basis. We just started that this month. We haven't seen that yet. So if you're the Goodwill location in some town, we'll be able to feed back to our host partners that, well, there were 10 people that came through your area this month that utilized this technology. So we will be able to have an automated count as far as that's concerned to monitor traffic to that extent.
Still being in a passenger picture myself, if I can't, I'm unemployed. Okay, so one of the first things I'm gonna get rid of is gonna, at home, when I'm done, or when I've been laid off, is gonna be that internet access, which costs me $40 a month. Okay? How do I establish an email for you to contact me if I don't have that at my house? I use the facility, wherever I'm at, then I can establish an email there through, that I can go into every other day and check it.
Correct.
So at the library, I can, through,
Right. Google, Yahoo, any of those.
through the library or wherever, I can go in, at the access point, I can go in and establish an email through IWD thing so that I can go in tomorrow and check it and see if there's a job opening, or go in next Wednesday and check it if there's a job.
Yes, you can use the access point desktop to create a free email account through Google, Yahoo, Hotmail, but it's not an IWD email account.
Right. So then anytime you have an internet connection from anywhere, you can have access to that email account that you created through the access point.
Through the access point.
Well, you create it through the access point.
To any of the Yahoo, Google.
Correct.
Right.
And then you can go to your friend's house and check your email.
Right.
You can go to another library and use the library's computer to check your email.
You can go anywhere that has an internet connection to check your email account.
I'll show you. We also have linked to the ACT student web account. That's where I can go in and actually register for the ACT account or ACT tests. I can log in and see my scores. The Office Proficiency Assessment Certification Test descriptions. Our centers offer OPAC testing, which is the Office Proficiency Assessments, and we don't have a self-help tutor for those, but we do have a description of each of the tests on the access point. So if someone does need to take that, they can come in and at least get some information about what that test entails. And I'm not sure. There we go. Yeah, you don't take the test here. These are proctored, and so currently you do have to go to a one-stop to take an OPAC assessment. But these are the descriptions of what the assessment is. Go ahead and close that. And then we have those self-help computer learning tools. We'll link to those again. Go back. This disclaimer is just that practice tests and scores provide helpful information, but don't necessarily tell you how you're going to do on the actual test. So we included a little disclaimer there about that. And that was the Take an Assessment or Practice test. We also have some job seeker information and resources, including the resource guide for job seekers. Again, this is a publication from Workforce Development, a successful interviewing guide, a link again to the career assessments. I have a Plan Iowa, interviewing skills, labor market information, the Occupational Outlook Handbook, Iowa career information, workforce education and training programs, exploring career options, vocational rehabilitation services, and frequently asked questions. We do want this to be as user-friendly as possible, and so you'll see frequently asked questions sprinkled throughout the desktop. And one of the things that I like is when I click on frequently asked questions, because I'm in the job seeker part, it takes me to the top asked questions from job seekers. But I can also search the database. I'm going to go ahead and close that. And those are our information and resources. We also have a link for students in education. Like I said, we want if you're a job seeker, you can still be a student. It just kind of depends on how you're identifying yourself. And we've touched on this page already. The Youth for Iowa, I have a plan, the Iowa College Access Network, the Student Aid Commission, My Next Move, My Skills, My Future, the Department of Education, registered apprenticeships, approved Workforce Investment Act training providers, the state administered workforce education and training programs, and then I also have a link in here for financial aid. From an access point, I can come in and complete my FAFSA, my financial student aid application. I can go into finaid.org and get, and there's a guide to financial aid. Ed.gov is some more financial aid information. And then the government benefits, grants, and finance aid. So I've put in some financial aid resources in the education, students in education. And then again, frequently asked questions. From this page, we'll go to job seekers, just like it did when we were in the other part. And the I don't know how to use a computer link takes us to the same page with the self-help training tools. Go ahead and go back. And that's the job seeker resources. I'm going to go ahead and go home. We also have the I am unemployed module. And this is where I can come in and file my unemployment insurance claim online. I can file my weekly continued claim, access the Facts About Employment Insurance Guide, get information about how to appeal my decision, training benefits and Department of Training, frequently asked questions. Again, when I click that, because I'm in the claimants or the unemployment side of things, it takes me to the help, the top asked questions and the help for unemployment. Go ahead and close that. Should have used my backwood. And then it links to the Iowa Unemployment Insurance Services. Now we do have live support, and this is what part of that extended hours pilot is that we're doing. Live support is available right from the desktop, and it's available in a number of ways. Between the hours of 8 to 8, Monday through Friday, and 10 to 2 on Saturday, people can call a toll-free number to speak with someone. If they're in the local Des Moines area, they can call a local number. And then they can also use that live support, and when they do that and click on that online, they'll be able to instant message back and forth with the representative. Okay? And all of those are available between the 8 to 8 Monday through Friday and 10 to 2 on Saturdays.
I have a technical question. This is run virtual desktop. What about like making sure the Java is updated on the PC or the Acrobat, that type of, or is that all handled out in the cloud?
That's all handled in the desktop itself.
Those desktops are actually running on our servers in our office.
So it doesn't have to worry
Right.
the machine issue like if I have an office computer.
No, not at all.
Okay. Let me go ahead and go back to the virtual assistant. We also have our veteran population. And I just recently revamped this veteran icon. We have veterans benefits, veteran employment, transition services. We link to the Department of Veteran Affairs, and then again, frequently asked questions by veterans and servicemen. Veteran benefits. We recently, the Gold Card Initiative came down, and so I've included the Gold Card Initiative information, veterans benefits and services, employment services, the NRD, the National Resource Directory, the USERA Advisor, e-benefits for veterans, and then the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So we link to all of those veterans benefits. In addition, our veterans employment, we link to the Gold Card Initiative, My Next Move for Veterans, a veterans job bank, the Iowa Veterans Employment Services site, the National Resource Directory, Vets Hire Vets, USERA Advisor, military.com, Veterans Employment Center, and then the assessment or practice tests too. We're hoping eventually to include more assessments and practice tests and really grow that. So I've thrown it in a couple of different places where it may not make sense quite yet, but once we get some more assessments and practice tests added in, it's going to make a lot more sense. We have our transition services. We have a lot of returning military servicemen, and so we can connect with the Veterans Employment and Training Services. Someone can come in and order their DD-214, helmets to hard hats, military transcript records, education support of the DoD worldwide, our Veterans Employment and Career Transition Advisor, Career One-Stop for Veterans Transition Services, Veteran Transition Resources, Military Community and Family Policy Program, Military One Source, and Military Spouse Career Center. So some transition services. And then again, Veterans Affairs and Frequently Asked Questions, which takes us out to Veterans, Reservists, and Military Service questions. Yes?
I might have missed it. Is there anything there specific that talks about the GI Bill?
No.
There should be, because they
Yes, there
can
should.
school or employment.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually separate versions, because there's a GI, there's a Montgomery GI Bill.
And the latest, the
The latest, the
9/11.
revised one because of the Gulf War stuff, so.
So there's three that's in effect right now. Well, there's
Yeah.
four, Veep, Montgomery.
Just work with Bob.
But they can go
Tony,
to
they can
school, that would be under education, or, of course, they can
Or
go
under
to apprenticeship.
And they can use their GI benefits on apprenticeship.
Yes, that's of course, as I said, of course they can use their
Yes.
apprenticeship.
No, excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
See, that's why I do these.
So,
We get all kinds of good input.
events.
I'm a student. We've seen this page again. It comes into a lot of student resources, the assessment or practice test. I want to go to school. Takes us into the Youth for Iowa. I have a plan, college aid. We've seen a lot of these links, but the one that I do want to point out, again, is there's that financial aid link.
That your statement about I want to go to school, that's pretty, like, maybe I want to further my education or something, that's like going to third grade or something. I know you got to have everybody's level on there, but if I'm a college student, maybe, I want to upgrade my education. I don't know, it just seems almost childish, really. I'm nitpicking here, I'm dumb.
Student information and resources. Again, we have our career assessments. I have a plan Iowa, labor market information. A lot of these links we have seen already, but I do want to point out we also have the Junior Achievement link, the Junior Achievement Student Center, and character counts added. Go back. Our computer training resources. Again, we've seen those. We can explore career options. We link to I have a plan. And again, I don't know how to use a computer. Several links to get to that. In our Explore My Skills, again, there's the career assessments. We've seen this in some of the other options, the GED practice test, the ACT practice test, the ACT student web account. So we've seen a lot of those links, and again, we're looking to really augment what we have in that particular section. And then under the,
because we're looking at, there's also going to be interest inventories, correct? That's another piece to add, because I'll come by the phone. Keep in mind, this is in tests, and the Explore My Skills just came up, so this is the first time some of us have seen this. In addition to the practice test that's on there, we're also looking to add interest inventories and types of ways that you can look at. Say you're the individual who's been working for 20 years at Pella making windows. Uncle Bob got you the job. You've never done an application in your life, and so you're trying to figure out what it is that you know how to do and what your transferable skills can help you achieve in other types of employment or additional training that could utilize the skills that you have. So the Explore My Skills is both assessments of both the soft skills and the hard skills. So we're just starting on this. So if any of you are aware of assessments that would be appropriate for this, we would sure like to know about those.
company, I am an employer link. Employers can come in, there's a Veterans Job Bank initiative, and employers can actually, with a bit of code added to their job orders, automatically have them included in the Veterans Job Bank. And so I've included the information for employers about how that can happen. They can post a job, so they can go right into Iowa Jobs, log in and post a position. They can link to the Successful Interviewing Skills Guide, Unemployment Insurance Tax Services, our Iowa Works business portal, labor market information. They can connect to the Employers Council of Iowa. Frequently asked questions. Actually, when you click on this from here, you get the searchable, the full searchable database, because employers may have questions that range across all of the topics that we have. They can connect to workers' compensation, the labor services division, education and training programs, and then we also have a link for Start a Business in Iowa. And that's what is in the employer. Now you hear me talk about how we change this information a lot. We change links, we add things. Every time we make a major version change, I get that information over to Mary Lou, and she actually sends out a flash to each of the access point sites to let them know what changes have been made and what to expect. So that's part of the process that we have in place when we do version updates. Okay? And so just before we launch this new version, Mary Lou will send out the new flash with the new Explore My Skills icon and the additions to some of the veteran stuff that I did for the Gold Card Initiative.
So in each one of the locations who host the site, we have the name of, or the email of their contact information or information from us. So the update wouldn't go onto the screen. It would go directly to the email of the contact person who's in the Goodwill location or the library or whatever the location is. So they would know on their work email what has changed or what is going to be changing, and would not be surprised at any changes in the technology at their site.
We're also throwing around, we throw around a lot of ideas when it comes to the desktop. And we're also throwing around the idea of including like maybe a what's new, a little what's new that someone could click on and see the newest things that have been added into the desktop too. We're just starting to kind of throw that around because we've had so much new stuff to it. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. Not sure yet. We have also links across the bottom. We have the equal opportunity is the law link, terms of use. This is where we go and explain that there's no warranty, that we do access other sites, and we don't control what those other sites post. We have some general information, the security and providing personally identifying information, and the encryption, that is the SSL secure socket layering. Okay. Let me go ahead and go back home. The other thing that I want to point out, actually just a couple of quick more things. The help desk, I can also access that online support. And from this particular spot, I have the telephone numbers again, but I can also send an email. So I can send an email into a mailbox that is checked throughout the business day. And so they get answered. Somebody has a question about something, they get answered. Okay. We also connect to Switchboard, which is an online telephone directory. So if I was in the middle of doing my reference sheet and I forgot an address or a telephone number, I could look it up. And then we have some community services here where people can connect to some community services, including the Department of Human Services benefit application, which is called OASIS. So I can go into a center. We have a lot of DHS offices across the state that have closed or condensed. And so this is also someplace where people can come in and apply for assistance. Again, the directions, create or access web email. Again, remember, this is very dynamic, and just because we have web URL on this page doesn't mean we're not going to add it to the other pages too. We know that, you know, that this one is a little harder to find. We want to make it a little easier to find. So that'll be part of another rollout. Okay. So those are the community services. And then at the top of the screen, we have some menu bars, links with some quick links. If I know exactly what I want to do, and I don't want to have to click into I am unemployed and then file a claim to get there, I can use the quick links and go straight to file an unemployment claim. Also, we do link to our workforce development office, Iowa Jobs, which is our job bank, Iowa Works, which is our employer portal, Youth for Iowa, and our Iowa Workforce Information Network, which is where all of our labor market information is stored. We have some state of Iowa links up here, and then local government, including county and city websites. We're working to make this accessible, and one of the ways that we've done it so far is we do have a plus sign here. As I hover, you can see it says click to increase the size of the font. So I can increase and decrease the size of the font here. And then I know that our designer is working on making keyboard shortcuts and that kind of thing work too. Okay. That's basically the overview of the desktop. Any questions for me? Yes?
Have you brought in any external teams to review different aspects of this? I would look at it from the standpoint of there's a lot of different areas where you've got links to training resources and things of that sort. But it would seem to me to be logical that you have a team from, let's say, our community colleges to take a look at that from a navigation standpoint. I didn't see anything other than the state of, or the Department of Education as a website, any direct links to the community colleges, for example, or and given the fact that a lot of the folks that we access in this website, that would be the most logical point of entry for a lot of those kind of training needs. No direct connections to the adult basic ed or GED providers, those kinds of things. We just, and same thing with the student financial aid side of it. Just a small group of student financial aid folks that work with this stuff every day to just make sure that from a content and navigation standpoint, it makes sense from a professional user's point of view.
Good idea.
I think it'd be just another set of eyes on it.
Good idea.
Just take a look at it.
We also are working with the Department of the Blind as another constituent area because they're having obvious difficulties with some of this, and they're working with us to do some braille things and to do some other ways that we can translate this for a person who just can't get to be any type of a sighted individual in order to navigate through this. So they're helping us with that.
And then this is my desktop on my computer. I know it looks a little scary. But if I were working out in, let's say, Veterans Affairs, okay, I would have my desktop, and then I would have a little icon here for the desktop, and I just double click on it, and it would open up that desktop for me. If I'm at a library, that would be the only icon. If it's an IWD supplied computer that you have, you just double click on it, it opens the desktop right up. Okay. So, just wanted to show that to you.
Just a question about that. Do we supply computers to all the 600 sites?
No.
How many do we supply computers to?
Mary was saying about 145 back here.
Yes, I think we're right around 100. We don't supply the computers, we loan them. And they are all refurbished computers that people have had in their closets and not utilized. So if the host site needs a facility, we offer to loan them a facility for use only for this purpose. So they cannot put on any of their software or any other information on the machine other than the workforce development portal.
Those are the ones that need supply. So then the other, you got 600 places, you got 450 computers out there that that might have multiple uses if they're sitting in a library.
Yeah, they're owned by the host partner, and they just put our software on their screen.
More questions for Chris? Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.